Any board members have any questions on the budget? No, no questions? Moving on to new business, new precinct opportunities committee report. Ms. Nettles, you have the floor.
All right, we had a great first meeting. Three of the four of you up there were present, any of the audience members were present as well. We have a 9-member committee for the new precinct opportunities group. That includes Chairman Pratt, Ms. Harden, Ms. McCullough, Kelly Stoplett, who's Janet Bradford, former board member, Mary Beckman, who's not here, myself, Dennis, and Deborah. We were all present. We did an overview of the precinct areas and voter turnout that we have in those particular paths. We discussed some pros and cons of the current polling places that we have. We decided to meet every 2 to 3 weeks. The public is welcome to attend our next meeting, which is going to be on Monday, June 26th at 3:30. And we didn't get into the nitty-gritty of the project and what we're working on. That will start in the next coming weeks. So far, we just are looking at our challenges that we have with some of our precincts and looking on how we can make the precinct or the polling place, better for our vote. Questions about that?
Shannon, that next meeting is here, correct?
Correct. The next meeting is in Woodbine in this room so that hopefully we can put the maps that we have up on the big screen and you'll be able to see. That's all I have for that.
All right. Moving on to the election supervisor update. Ms. Nettles, the floor is yours. You have all the speaking parts today.
We do. All right. So our active voter numbers as of the end of May was 37,044. We have a total number of voters still at 43,608 people. Staff continue to work in Jarvis, mainly putting in voter registrations that come to us from the DDS or that are mailed in to us. Jarvis is still working out a few little kinks here and there, but they are making progress and it is doing very good. Region, do you have anything to say about Jarvis? She said they need to work a little harder. They are working hard. It's a brand new.
Time is authorized, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Brand new system, still has some bugs they're fixing. We hosted the Region 14 quarterly meeting. I think that was a couple of Thursdays ago. Turned out great. We had a super turnout as an opportunity for election officials to sit around a table and just kind of discuss things that go on in our office on a regular basis, ask some questions, have a little just talks about various subjects. So we ate lunch and the next meeting will be at Brantley County. They will host the next meeting on also, again, probably various subject topics. We did go over some Jarvis items, so it was a good meeting overall. I already talked about the new precinct opportunities group. We had our first committee meeting. I would like to mention, as some of you have probably been made aware of, the digital driver's licenses that Apple is now allowing us to put, or I think it's Apple and what's the other?
iPhone.
Android allow you to put your driver's license in a digital format on your phone. The Secretary of State's office has not come out to us with anything regarding the use of a digital ID to provide IDs for moving forward in elections. I'm sure they'll issue something before the next election takes place. But as far as we're concerned, we'll still be utilizing a hard copy ID, photo ID when they come in. Staff have recently taken and passed a cybersecurity training course that the Secretary of State's office required. We get a lot of cybersecurity training from not just here, and our jobs and to be able to use our emails. But we also do have to do stuff for the state as well. They're very cognizant of the fact that our computers and records and emails we receive are at the top end of at the top end of the list to be messed with. So they are constantly doing training, and I am happy to say all 4 of us passed with flying colors. So the last thing I was just going to mention was we did receive, and I think Deborah mentioned this last month when I wasn't here, received new cages to hold our equipment in. So once those cages, and they came put together already, got put into our elections equipment storage space, it is packed. You can barely walk in there. So Dennis and I, as well as staff and the facilities crew, have been looking into ways that we can better utilize the space that we have. So we're in the process of doing that. Dennis is also in the process of doing his charging on all machines. So that's basically the report I had for us.
So the cages that we have, those are for the precincts where we roll the equipment in when we cannot secure the location? Is that why we're using the cages?
It's super easy to transfer the equipment all in one cage. The Public Works guys that help us love that concept. And yes, it does keep the equipment secure until our election officials get there to set up their precinct. But the cages are super heavy. So I don't think we're going to be able to utilize a U-Haul anymore with a push-up ramp because, I mean, they're super heavy right now without anything in them. And once we put equipment in there, I believe they'll maybe max out. So we might have to look at something with a lift to get our equipment loaded up. But other than that,
So doesn't U-Haul have trucks with lifts?
I've never seen a U-Haul with a Tommy gate on it, like she's talking about.
Okay.
Tommy gate is a lift, it's a hydraulic lift.
Yeah.
I've never seen a U-Haul with that. I've seen like Penske has them, Enterprise has them.
Okay.
yeah, we have plenty of time to find one. I think we might just have to use an outside source, not like, unless U-Haul can get them and have them in hand for us here in Camden, we'd much prefer that than the drive to
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville or Brunswick to pick up a Penske or whatever else Hertz that might have one of those. So
Shannon, what is the size of those cages?
we have 2
I
different
mean, we're not going to have a
sizes.
problem. I mean, I keep going back to South St. Mary's and the strategic ins and outs of that place. I worry that you're going to get a cage that's not going to fit in that area. I mean, that's the only one that I can think of that's as
It
tight
has a
as,
tight turn.
it's a lot of
But
tight turns.
does it sense? Yeah,
They do have a ramp,
they do have the ramp.
but I meant once they got into the building, height, and I just didn't know how big you were talking
Yeah,
about.
they're not that big. They fit through the doorways at the facilities
Okay.
building to get in and out. So I think we'll be fine at South St. Mary's.
Are they longer and taller than the ones we had previously or?
Do you remember the exact measurement, Dennis? They are longer and they are a little bit wider than the old.
They're longer and they are wider. They're also taller.
Okay.
I believe they're around 6.5 feet tall, maybe 7. So something along the lines like that. 6.5 is probably my best guess on that.
So they'll go through a normal doorway.
They enter normal door frames perfectly fine. We have them in our middle room
Right.
that we keep the batteries and everything in. They got through that doorway with no problem. And they also got through that, if you remember the tight hallway that I
Oh,
do
yeah.
L&A in, they were able to maneuver that hallway with no problem as well.
Then I think we're probably fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not that huge. I mean, they're just way bigger than the little green dumpy ones we
Yeah.
kind of have that we'll end up using those probably for storage inside the room as a space saver for us.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that's all I have, Chairman.
Anybody else? One thing I do want to add, we added the videos for the meetings onto the Agenda Center on the Camden County website. So that's something for the public that they can go back and look at the videos of our meetings. So that we did that this week.
Nice.
Any questions for the election supervisor? If not, we'll move on to the training. And before we start the video, there's a couple things I do want to say. The video was made prior to SB 202. And this is on provisional ballots. SB 02 said, okay, if you're out of precinct and it's before 5 PM, your vote will not count. The video doesn't talk about that. If it's after 5 PM, then your vote will count as long as you're eligible to vote. So that's something different. Also, with Camden County, we've elected to use the BMDs as a way of printing out the provisional ballots, so the voter can actually go to the BMD, do the provisional ballot, print it out, and then it goes into the envelope. Okay, that's a little bit different than what's on the video. All right, so we'll have a video, we'll have a little PowerPoint presentation, and about 6 o'clock, we'll have questions, and then we'll be out. All right, please start the video.
Are you serving dinner? then?
Sure, yeah, just wait for it. Wait for the dinner.
So we've said this before, but I think it bears repeating over and over again. As a poll worker, you never allow someone to leave the polling place without there being offered a ballot to vote. Whether that be voting on the ballot marking device, hand marked on a paper ballot, or a provisional ballot. Let's discuss some of the possible provisional ballot scenarios and play a little game called What Would You Do? First will be the person whose name does not appear on the electors list on the poll pad.
Sir, I'm sorry, but I don't see your name on the list of voters at this precinct on the poll pad.
I know I'm registered to vote.
What would you do? The poll worker will look on the supplemental list, then search again on the poll pad, and if the voter still cannot be located, the voter will be offered the opportunity to vote a provisional ballot. What about the voter that's registered to vote but is in the wrong precinct?
Okay, I do see that you are a registered voter, but just not at this precinct.
Oh, right. Well, can I still cast my ballot here?
What would you do? If the voter is registered in the county, but in another precinct, inform the voter of their assigned precinct, and then let the voter decide if they would like to go to their assigned precinct or vote a provisional ballot. Inform the voter that all votes cast for candidates for whom the voter is properly entitled to vote shall be counted, and all votes cast for candidates for whom the voter is not entitled to vote shall be void. This means that only the candidates that are also on their correct precinct ballot will be counted. The voter will make the decision if they want to go to their precinct or stay. If they choose to stay, they'll need to vote a provisional ballot. What about the voter who does not have one of the required forms of photo identification?
May I see your photo ID, please? Okay, well, this is a lovely Christmas card from, looks like 2012, but I'm sorry, this is not an acceptable form of photo ID.
Are you kidding? I mean, you have no idea how long it took for my mom to line us up that way. I mean, look at my hair. Okay, this is the best photo I have. Yeah.
What would you do? Georgia law clearly states what is acceptable photo ID. If the voter does not have the appropriate photo ID, she should be issued a provisional ballot and instructed that the ballot will be counted only if the voter provides the proper ID to the registrar's office within 3 days of the election. What about the voter who registered for the first time by mail in Georgia but did not provide valid ID and they're flagged as IDR, identification required?
Okay, I see on the poll pad that you registered to vote by mail, but you did not provide a photo ID, so you're not fully registered.
Yeah, I think I remember getting a letter about that. I might have thrown it away with the rest of my mail. Can I still vote though?
What would you do? If the voter can't supply the appropriate ID, the voter must be issued a provisional ballot. Remember, the list of acceptable IDR ID to complete their registration is different than that photo ID to vote. Now, the next scenario can only occur if a federal race is on the ballot. The election superintendent notifies you that a court order has extended the poll hours.
Well, due to the power outage, we're going to be voting at the provisional station today.
I don't want to vote by provisional ballot. I want to use one of the machines.
What would you do? The polls were supposed to have closed at 7 p.m., but a court order extended that time. In an election with a federal candidate on the ballot, all electors who vote during court-ordered extended time vote by provisional ballot. Why? Because that's what the law says. It's actually section 21-2-418D. So there you go. What about an elector that challenges another voter before they vote on the ballot marking device?
Okay, may I see your ID, please? Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to look you up here, Sam.
Hi, so sorry, don't mean to be that guy, but his name's not Sam, it's actually Rodney. You and I went to high school together. Hi.
Your name's Rodney.
Okay.
What would you do if one elector challenges another voter before the voter votes on the ballot marking device? A provisional ballot is allowed.
Would you like to vote at our provisional station?
Okay, now that you know the why, let's talk about the how of issuing provisional ballots. First, make sure you have your provisional ballot station set up when the polls open at 7 a.m. What did I hear you just say to the person next to you? Did you just say, we don't get all that out unless we have to? Yeah, I know you didn't say that. Maybe my ears were clogged because you know the provisional ballot station has to be set up when the polls actually open. Yeah, that was the problem. I had earplugs on. So now that we have that misunderstanding all cleared up, let's go through the steps of issuing a provisional ballot. Step 1, ask the voter to complete the provisional section of the voter certificate. It's on the back and the section is salmon colored for your entertainment. If the person believes they have registered but are not showing up on the list, they'll also complete a voter registration application. Step 2, you ensure that the forms are complete. Step 3, print the voter's name, precinct name or number, district combination, ballot style, and the date on the official provisional ballot envelope. Check the box for which type of election, and only if it's a primary, the party of the ballot the person has chosen. Step 4, write the correct code on the provisional envelope and provisional voting certificate. PI is the code for a registered voter who does not have a photo ID at the time of voting. PR is the code for the person believing that he or she has timely registered to vote, but whose name does not appear on the elector's list. Remember, this voter must also complete a voter registration application. IR is the code for the voter who registered for the first time by mail, but did not provide required identification and can't supply this ID when voting. EH is the code for the voter who is casting a ballot during extended polling hours as a result of a court order, which applies to federal elections only. OP is the code for a voter who is casting a ballot out of precinct. OPP, yes, you know me. X is the code for the voter who registered for the first time in Georgia but did not provide the proof of citizenship. Step 5, you'll ask the voter to provide photo ID unless this is the reason that they are voting provisional in the first place. Initial the form in the proper space. Step 6, you'll write the voter's name on the provisional numbered list of voters and note the appropriate code in the provisional code column and ballot style in the appropriate column. Step 7, give the provisional ballot to the voter and write the ballot number on the provisional voter certificate in the space provided. Step 8, hand the voter the ballot and both official provisional ballot envelopes. Instruct the voter to go to the provisional ballot booth to vote the ballot by filling in the ovals next to the candidate or question of his or her choice. When finished voting, the voter will fold and insert the ballot into the first provisional envelope and seal, then insert that envelope into the large salmon-colored envelope and seal. The voter will then insert the ballot into the provisional ballot container. Step 9, after the voter has cast the provisional ballot, provide the voter with written contact information so the voter will be able to ascertain whether the ballot was counted and, if the ballot was not counted, the reason why such ballot was not counted. If a federal candidate's on the ballot, the contact information provided to the voter must include a free access system, such as a toll-free telephone number or a website to ascertain such information. Step 10, place all of the voted provisional ballots in the provisional ballot container. Place the numbered list of provisional voters and provisional recap sheet in the proper envelope. Remember, you must fill out a provisional recap sheet and numbered list of provisional voters for persons that vote provisional ballots. Step 11, be sure to check that the appropriate box in the top left-hand corner of the numbered list of provisional voters has been marked to indicate the type of election.
Wow, that's a lot of work. And I just don't want to go through all that work if the ballot's not going to be counted anyway.
You don't want to. Okay, well, Jan, we got to follow the law here. And Section 302 of the Help America Vote Act clearly states that in certain circumstances, an individual shall be permitted to cast a provisional ballot. Now, whether that ballot counts or not is kind of irrelevant to the situation. You know, can anybody help me with this?
I can help you with that.
Oh, hey, look, it's the secretary.
Hey, good
Yeah,
to see
thank
you.
you, sir.
We know it's a lot of paperwork, but it is necessary and protects the security of the fair elections process. Please do not discourage a person eligible to cast a provisional ballot from casting it. Always allow a voter to cast a provisional ballot. A good rule to remember is, when in doubt, give it out.
Exactly. That's not hard, is it?
Oh, it's pretty easy.
We can do that.
All right, any questions about the video? All right, we're gonna move on to what happens after the election. Polls close, the material comes back to the office. And wait for the PowerPoint. This is where we really come into it as the board. This is where our process is. All right, we're gonna be talking about provisional ballots, and it's OCGA 21-2, 418 and 419, and SEB Rule 183-1-12-.18. Next. So after the polls close, the manager's gonna bring all the material back up to Woodbine here. It's gonna be received. The provisional ballot information is gonna be pulled from that material, and it's gonna go straight to the election superintendent. Okay, and that's basically what that's saying right there. All right, because we're a combined board, the SEB rule talks more about registrars and election superintendent. I just kind of combine it to where it just talks about election superintendent. So if it says registrar in here, that's us. We are the Board of Election and Registration along with Shannon. Like it says, shall promptly proceed to determine the eligibility of each person that voted provisional. And if the election superintendent determines that the person did timely register and is eligible to vote, of course, that ballot will be accepted. If the person did not timely register to vote or was not eligible to vote during that election, it will be rejected. Next. Not later than the close of business on the third day following the day of the primary election or runoff. So at 5 p.m., normally on a Friday afternoon, that is when all provisional ballots have to either be accepted or rejected. And then that's when we can go ahead and certify. So the election superintendent shall maintain the provisional ballot voter certificates the same period of time as all other voter certificates. And next. If the ballot style district combination voted by the voter was correct, then the election superintendent shall just open the outer envelope and place the inner envelope in a ballot box. So the next one, if a ballot style district combination voted by the voter was not correct, when would that happen? When would a voter not vote the right district combination for their precinct?
After 5,
What's that?
after 5 p.m.?
After 5 p.m. and they're out of district, or out of precinct, right? After precinct, after 5. Now they can vote a provisional before 5. It just won't count. And the affidavit they sign actually says, you understand this ballot will not count. Okay. All right. So it's the only time that we will have a ballot style that's not correct. Okay. The election superintendent shall open the outer envelope and note the correct ballot style on the inner envelope. Each such inner envelope shall then be placed in a separate container until all the outer envelopes have been opened. And then the outer envelope shall then be stored in a location away from the inner envelopes, just like we do for absentee ballots, in a manner that the inner envelope and ballot of the voter cannot be identified as being the ballot of a particular voter. The superintendent shall then open each such inner envelope and remove the ballot and shall place a unique identifying number on the ballot along with the designation of the precinct at the top of the ballot. So if we have to do a duplicate, it has to have a unique identifying number on it and the precinct designation. Next. Election superintendent shall then prepare or cause to be prepared a duplicate ballot. And the word duplicate shall be written on the top of the ballot. And along with the identifying number, the election superintendent shall transfer or cause to be transferred to the duplicate ballot in the presence of at least 2 other consolidation assistants, so that's 3 people, and in public, only the votes cast by the provisional ballot voter in the races and questions to which the voter was eligible and entitled to vote. So even on the BMD, we don't allow them to vote the ballot that they would have voted at their precinct. We say, okay, what is the ballot that's closest to what what your precinct would have on it for races, but still covers the races that were on there. And that's the way we go from there. The votes entered on the duplicate shall be verified by at least one consolidation assistant, and the completed duplicate ballot shall be placed in a ballot box with the other provisional ballots to be counted, and the original shall be placed in an appropriate container and retained. Any questions on that? Next. After opening all the outer envelopes and making all necessary duplicate ballots, the election superintendent shall then open the inner envelopes and process them in a manner of the same way we do absentee ballots. Upon completing the count, the election superintendent shall add the provisional ballots to the votes to get a vote total for the election. The rejected provisional ballot shall be marked on the outer envelope as not counted and shall not be opened, but retained. Rejected ballots. Upon identifying a rejected provisional ballot electors, the registered election supervisor shall proceed at the earliest possible time to notify such person by first-class mail. So we have to notify the elector that their ballot was rejected. It's required. And if the person's voter registration is rejected, the registrar shall notify the person of such rejection in accordance with the code. Next. In addition, the registrar shall establish a free access system such as a toll-free telephone number or internet access by which voters can cast their provisional ballot can see if their ballot counted. But that's only for federal races. Next. All right, I got a few questions. How many days does the election superintendent have to accept or reject a provisional ballot? 3 days. What must be written on the top of a duplicate ballot?
Precinct.
Speak up. Uh-huh.
Number,
And,
the precinct number, combo, you know.
right, the precinct number, and then there's something else has to be written on there.
Duplicate.
Duplicate. Not in red anymore. They've taken that out. Yeah, they changed the SEB rule. Okay, when is a provisional ballot station set up at the polling locations?
At the opening.
At the very opening. So when, on election day, when we're going out to the polls, that's something we want to check to make sure that the provisional ballot station is set up. Okay. True or false? A provisional ballot that is cast by an outer precinct voter prior to 5 p.m. on election day will be counted.
False.
False. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the training today? All right, you guys did much better than you did last week.
It was hard
Or
to
last
do words.
They was. All right, thank you. I think that's because you sent the training out before, prior to the meeting. You guys had a chance to look at it. It was an open book test.
Well, yeah, that did help, actually.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
And like I say, now it'll be available on our website in the video
Yes.
format and the agenda. All right, important upcoming dates. Juneteenth, National Independence Day will be Monday, June 19th. So all county offices will be closed. July 4th, Independence Day holiday, Tuesday, July 4th, all offices will be closed. Our next meeting is Thursday, July 20th, and it'll be up here in Woodbine at 4 p.m. Any additional public comments? No. If there are no objections, this meeting will now adjourn. Since there is no objection, this meeting is adjourned.